You. Do all the chickens come?
Hi, Joe Ellen.
Hello. Am I early or late?
What? And for that, he wanted to come back for a minute.
Kids can be loud. So I did not put it on the agenda, but do you have the information on the disposition of the funds?
Why I'm here.
Okay, so we'll add that to the agenda then.
That'd be great. I forgot. I guess I didn't, I'm sorry. I've been not well for a long time now, and I'm just coming back to reality. So I'm
Hmm.
missing a few beats.
And I did get your email. We did get an email from the mayor regarding that. And I'll try to pull that up during the meeting here. Um, Danielle had sent something, and the mayor responded to her
Uh, what was the subject?
regarding ICE.
Oh, something different, not about the grant. Okay.
No, no.
All
You
right.
you had sent an email suggesting that. Um,
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. I remember a while back. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I would have come to meetings before, but like I said, I haven't been doing well. So
Hmm. But
anyway,
you're doing better now?
yeah. But like I said, I'm still missing some beats, even with two calendars.
Oh,
Hey, I'm still here. That's the main thing, right?
yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Doing pretty well. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find it here. Ah, here we are. Yeah, they said we will not be asking the Jedi B committee for guidance or consideration, as the analysis includes matters that are the direct responsibility of the manager in chief. Um, but he did refer the information to the city manager and Chief Vale for consideration.
And what was the actual request?
Uh,
Did you guys write a
uh,
statement?
it was Danielle had requested a clear municipal policy on federal immigration.
Well, yeah, there's something actually that's written in there from a while back that the police department took on. I forgot what it was about. It was about immigration, but I forget what it was.
Yeah, he says Berry City has never received a request to execute a 287G agreement.
Right, but there is some kind of statement that they made months ago. Oh my gosh, almost a year ago, I think, about this.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's in policy or, gosh, where did I see that?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'll have this I'll have this up um so that we can I think let's see. Yeah, I think he sent it to the members of the committee, so
all right, I'm gonna look it up now. Maybe I can find it.
as well as the
So,
counselors.
they cook.
The recording is in process, by the way, progress.
Yes.
Though the meeting hasn't started yet.
Scallop and lobster, green,
Okay.
the other.
I'm gonna mute because Hi, Sean.
Hey there.
Just having a quick supper, so I'm turning my things off here.
That's fine. I just inhaled mine.
Hi, Sonia, Matt.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can.
I got a notification that my microphone wasn't connected, and I was like, it looks like it's connected. Okay, great.
Computer audio. Terrible.
I think the first one, hi, Joellen. I think this is one of the first times we've got online and it's like problem free. Like, this is amazing. Getting the hang of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
Here we
opened it up at 6:15 and Joellen was already here.
Wow. Awesome.
So,
I wanted
so
to
I'm going to suggest that we have an adjustment to the agenda and include the disposition of the funds
Yes.
from
Good.
the
Greg.
okay. Well, it is 6:30 p.m. and we have a quorum, so I officially call the meeting to order. And I can read the we acknowledge that Barre City was developed on Soboki Abenaki land, which the Western Abenaki Nation never ceded, made treaty for, nor were they conquered. We aspire to create a space in our meetings that is inclusive, participatory, and equitable. We acknowledge we all come from different experiences and that our experiences may be affected by racism, sexism, classism, homophobia, ableism, and many other systems of oppression. We are here to address equity within the systems of our city in order to inform the City Council of our findings. We acknowledge that systemic inequities exist and do not debate the personal experiences of marginalized and underrepresented community members. With that in mind, it is important that we are thoughtful of the impact of our words on each other in this space. Okay. So, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Do I say it?
Joellen is here to do the disposition, but I need someone to suggest an adjustment to the agenda.
I'll suggest the adjustment to allow Joellen to make her presentation, and can we make her the first agenda item?
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. So I'm going to give the second to Greg on that. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Aye. Okay. And so, Joellen, I think we've made that the first item on the agenda. So we'll let you give your presentation and then we'll look to approve the minutes from the January meeting.
So I see that maybe there are 2 or 3 of you who don't really know the full history of this. So I want to just do a little bit of background so
Go
that
ahead.
they're more aware, okay? And anyone chime in if you want to add items. So, oh boy, way back, 3 or 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now, we wrote a grant to do a program that was that was facilitated by Christy Clemens, who is or was the Title IX coordinator for Dartmouth College. Now she is in some other position related to equity. I'm not sure what it is. And we ran the program, but we wrote in another piece that was because we were having some difficulty communicating well between the city council and ourselves at that time. We also wrote in a couple of $1,000s for a mediator to mediate some discussions between us so that we could maybe come to some common ground. That was the theory anyway. We did run the programs, which I thought were very successful and good, but when it came to doing the mediation, we had stalling from the city council, even though they approved the premise of the grant and approved of the grant. When it came time to scheduling with a moderator or a mediator, rather, they kind of basically refused to do it. So now we had this dilemma. We had this extra money. What are we going to do with it? So we went back to the funder, which is the Vermont Community Fund, and said, first we came up with this idea of, okay, so we could run the program out. We didn't have enough money in the grant to run another program, so we thought we would put some money toward Christy so that we could have her as a kind of coach and have some of us actually learn how to run the program. And another piece of the money was to turn one of the education pieces from the program is a timeline of diversity and what it's called, diversity in Barre, something like that. To turn that into an electronic piece that could be shared and used, put on our website, shared with teachers in a more kind of direct way so that it could be used for educational purposes. And the third thing was to take some money and purchase some pride flags for merchants on Main Street who would want to display them during Pride Week or at whatever time. Anyway, so we as a committee had decided that those 3 items would be something we would be interested in. The funder agreed to those 3 items after first trying to convince us to go with the first program, which obviously was not going to work. So, okay, why has it taken so long? Here's the reason. I have gotten very slow response from the person from the city who is to administer these smaller grants. So there are times when I have sent out 6 emails a week for months and no response. And of course, during some of that time, I was not well, so I couldn't go down to City Hall. Anyway, where it's come to now, I finally have gotten her to respond. There are still a few pieces to fill in, but let me explain to you what's left. Okay, we'll go there. Unless someone has questions anyone have questions about what I've said so far? Seeing none, I shall move on. So there is $1,172 left in the grant. $615 of it is how much it would cost for us to turn the banner into a digital image display. That leaves 1172. We were going to give 500 to Christy for 5 hours, approximately 5 hours of her help, and then the rest would go to the flags. Now here's the thing. Things are different now. It's a whole new group, you all, and you may have some other ideas about how to use Christy. If you want to do the program, fine. Then we can use Christy for that reason. You can use Christy for that reason. If you want to use her for another reason, great. That's fine. Figure it out. You have 5 hours of her time to use as you would think is best for you. And then the rest could. And the other thing is that, I mean, she knows about this. Christy's interested in helping us out. She understands that it may not be for the original idea, which was to guide us through learning how to do the program. This is the Let's Talk program. So you may not want to use her at all. I don't know. Or you may not be ready to use her and want to use the money. I would suggest then throwing the money toward the rest of the money toward the flags, because those are things that the funder has already agreed to fund. I don't think it would be wise to come up with a third plan for them. They're a little annoyed that it's taken 4 years to get this final report to them. By the way, I already did my piece, which was to send the narrative final report to the funder. I did that 2 years ago. They're just waiting for the financial piece. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So are you indicating that we have the control over the finances at this point in time as the committee?
Well, we always did. My concern here is that you may not want to use Christy. I mean, you're a new group of people. You have new agendas, maybe. I don't know. You might want to use her as a presenter on something, or not use her at all. I don't know. The other two items, I think we should stick to, because we've agreed on that, and they're certainly doable. Christy's doable too, but you're gonna have to figure out what you want to use her for. Let me put it that way.
Mm-hmm. But as far as using, if we were to try to use it for another purpose, for instance, we're having a discussion of the language access policy tonight. And as far as using it for a different purpose, that would mean that we would need to get approval from the Vermont Community Fund again, if we were to do something different. Is that correct?
We would not get permission to do anything else.
Okay.
We would be in big trouble. They don't want the money back. It causes a nightmare for them to send money back.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want it back. They want us to use it in a way that meets with our original goals, which really were to raise the awareness of equity, I guess, if you want to take the broadest view, which certainly the things that they then agreed to, that we kind of rethought or redid, that's why that worked for them.
Does anyone else have any questions for Jo Ellen?
I don't have a question, but I think we should use Christy and use her to help us develop our own program so that we can keep this going as much as we can.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So Joellen, just so I understand, since I'm kind of coming in at the tail end of this grant, so you said there's 1,172 left in the grant,
Yes,
of which 615 for the banner and 500 for Christie,
correct.
and then change
Yeah.
for flags. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, so maybe one of us should reach out to Christy and see what kind of resources she has, just to kind of make best use of her time. see what kind of things she might have like ready for, instead of like using 4 of the hours to prepare and then 1 hour, giving us 1 hour. Maybe she has some stuff that she's done recently and she can, uh, you know, do maybe a little bit more with us. I don't know. But yeah, I like Greg's idea of maybe developing a plan for continuing similar education, public education, and such.
So just so you know, the piece left for me to do is to make sure that the proper documents get to I don't want to say her name, the grant manager. So I still have a little piece to do because apparently it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so I'll do that piece of it. Definitely get in touch with Christy. I think everyone should have her information. If not, let me know. I'll send it to you. She is extremely flexible and she will do anything. So just approaching her and saying, we want 5 hours or we want $500 worth of your time. You don't even have to be very specific, but it would be good for someone to make contact with her because it's been a while. But I'll make sure, and she needs to do a piece of work as well to set this up because actually we have to make purchase orders. So I'll do that piece, and all you have to do is make contact with her about what you want. Now the other part is there are two physical elements that are involved, and you have to decide how you're going to manage them. Okay, because if we're getting flags, those are physical things. So who's going to take charge of those items? Originally, the Reels had agreed to take responsibility for distributing them and finding out which merchants in town would want them. And I think they already had done that work. I'm not sure because it's been more than a year in the works. So that's one thing. And the second thing is Sonia has agreed kindly to take charge of the banner so that people can use that in other ways. So you need to decide about those things, I guess. Who would keep them. But no rush, apparently. So don't stress about it. But I did have to say the last email. If you understand me well enough, you'll know that I have an Irish sense of humor. So the last email I sent to her was, please respond to me. It may come after my death or something of that sort. And actually that got her to respond. So there we are.
I'm willing to reach out to Christy and maybe just kind of have a conversation with her, see any ideas she has. Like she might have some ideas to throw at us that might be really good ones to suggest.
Okay. So I don't think you have her info, so I'm going to send you her email address. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. I don't think we need to have a motion on that. I think that sounds like a wonderful idea, Rick. So
So is my work done tonight?
I think so.
Because Channel 6, which is our BBC, or what is it, the Canadian station, they're doing curling, and I love curling.
Well, if you have a Roku, you can actually go on the Peacock site and you can look at whatever events that you're wanting to do, whatever events you're wanting to watch, and you can watch whichever, and curling is definitely one of them.
Oh, yes, it is.
So I'm a big curling fan myself.
Great to
So,
see you all. Thank you so much for doing this work. I really appreciate that there's a life beyond me.
okay. Well, thank you for coming and giving your presentation,
I'll be
Joelle.
back, and also back anytime you ask. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Okay. Shall we move to the approval of the minutes from the January meeting?
Sure. If you need a motion, I'll move to approve the minutes unless anyone has comments or concerns.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, I heard 4 ayes, so okay. It's been approved.
And I know y'all are tired of these videos, but this is
Go ahead, Sonia.
Matt, you're not, oh, he wasn't on mute, but now he is.
Okay. Old business, community, committee reports and assignments. I did get a chance to look at one of the statutes, that being the one on nuisance properties. And I didn't see anything that would be against equity in that. It's actually basically looks at if there are nuisance properties, which is it would be the owners of the properties are the ones who are affected and not tenants of the properties. So it doesn't really affect, I don't think it really affects the underprivileged as far as that's concerned. Um, so that's the one that I had a chance to look at. Anyone else?
I'm sorry,
Um,
I did not. Oh, I'm sorry, Greg, go ahead.
uh, I don't have a report for the as far as education goes, but I want to reiterate the invitation for anyone to join the committee, um, so we can grow just a little bit, perhaps. Something to think about.
Sure,
Okay.
I'll join you.
Okay, so Rick, you're joining the Education Committee.
Sure.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Could we have a conversation about committees?
Well, basically, we have 2 committees. One is the committee that looks at the statutes. Although I have indicated that basically anyone can look at the statutes and see if there are any that you believe we should address or we should look into. Um, I have not held any meetings regarding that. My thought process is that each of us can look at them individually, rather than having a meeting where we go over them. Um, Certainly, if we wanted to, we could um, take a few minutes each meeting and look at one aspect, but I think that our probably things are better served doing it on our own and looking and seeing if people have any objections. And of course, just because I'm thinking that there isn't anything that goes against equity doesn't necessarily mean that somebody else might have a different opinion on that. Um,
Yeah, that was my question about discussing committees because I appreciate that you're reading the ordinances, William, and I appreciate that. I wonder though if maybe for the ordinance committee we could pick an ordinance like the nuisance ordinance and we could all read it and then we could maybe have a conversation about, if we use the equity assessment tool, if there are any things that stood out to us because as you said, you might not see anything that would strike you as an equity problem, and then I might. So I wonder if we could maybe even by email have a discussion, or not a discussion, but like choose like which ordinance we were going to read for the next time and all read the same one so we could have a conversation. Maybe that would be helpful and help us move through some of the ordinances that maybe we won't have any issues with, but maybe, and I'm not saying that everybody, because if there's some people on the education committee, but for the people who are on the ordinance committee, that is something that we could do outside of it and then just bring back to the full body what we found individually. But if we're all reading the same thing.
Sure. Um, any thoughts on that? I do have a list of the ordinances here that you can see on the city website, and if there's one that people would like to address for our next meeting, we can certainly do that.
I'd
I
like to
think
go through them and see what I can, see if any stand out to me. I've
Okay.
got into them myself, but
How about if we start by maybe this month we can take a look at that list, and then maybe each of us can pick an ordinance or two that stand out to us, and then we can kind of make a list of ones that we want to go through. That way we have a direction, a path
Okay.
to start going down.
Okay. That sound like reasonable? Do we want a motion on that?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay.
Not known well. You can see it.
Okay. And all those in favor?
Hey,
I
All right.
I
Okay. Motion carries. Okay. And then we have a discussion of the language access policy. Rick, you provided that to me. I'm going to this now we're getting into something that I'm going to have to look and see what bear with me for a moment.
Do you want me to share my screen?
I've got it right here.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah, so I can either share my screen, or if there's a way, if you know how to share your screen, I'll let you do it.
Share. Okay. Sharing is not turned on. Send request.
Okay. There you go. I
Okay.
hit allow.
Awesome. Let me just make sure and see. Okay, here we go. Hopefully this will do it. I don't need to share sound. Okay. Can you all see this slide? Language access policy.
Yep.
Great.
Yes.
Let me see. Presenter mode. Slideshow. Here we go. Okay. Maybe that's a little easier to see. Okay, so I just put together about 20 slides just to kind of talk about language access policy as kind of a project, because it's not just, I feel like the situation in Burlington and Williston, while it's nice to have their policies as kind of an example, the way they implement language access might look very different from how we do it in Barre. Their population is very different. The population size is extremely different. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why we should do a language access policy, what the law is behind it, what are the elements of the policy, and some next steps that we can take. So language access is defined, or kind of one way of talking about it is a set of effective strategies to engage and communicate with individuals with communication needs, acknowledging that language doesn't have to be a barrier. So why do we need it? Language access helps advance equity, helps people participate in society, becoming part of our community, or being, more included in our community. And so by providing ways for people to communicate with city government, that removes barriers on a systemic level. In other words, it's easier for them to access understanding of what's going on or what they need to do, what they can do, rather than, at the individual level, letting people kind of struggle with their own language barriers and, coming up with their own solution. So it's maybe more efficient on a community level. And then, so like another reason is, people might need critical city services to maintain their health, avoid hazards. Let's say somebody needs to report a extremely unsafe condition like a gas leak or something, and they can't communicate. We would really want to know that. And then the last one is because it's actually a federal legal obligation for city governments. So there's several federal laws that cover this, part of the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. There's an executive order from the year 2000 around providing access. There's the American Disabilities Act. And so then within some of these federal policies, they define meaningful access. Access that is not significantly restricted, delayed, or inferior as compared to programs or activities provided to English speakers, at no cost to the individual who speaks languages other than English. So language access plan is our strategy to assess, identify, and manage how we go about doing that, providing that service for people. And so it ends up being a document that defines how we do that, how we identify needs, the needs that we have identified, the resources that are available to us to do that, and a way of defining our policy recommendations. So the main components are going to be, first of all, understanding how individuals interact with the city, what are the services they use, filing deeds or paying their water bills, et cetera, et cetera. If they're landlords, if they own property, filing for permits, all the services that the city provides. So part of that is identifying and assessing communities within the Barre City community. Then training the city staff so that they understand what they have access to as part of this policy, such as like translated documents, forms, or like a telephone service to help someone have live translation. Providing notice, in other words, putting posters up so that people know that they can ask for that. And then, as every good policy has, a way of monitoring, evaluating, updating as things change. So first we would assess the number of people with access needs, and I have some slides talking about that. Figure out which languages are most commonly spoken in Barre, and not just the ones that are spoken, but the people who live here and who are most likely to use city services. Identify the most important documents to be translated, assign roles for maintaining policy compliance. I don't know who would do that, whether it would be part of, someone here on the committee or somebody who's actually a city employee. Timeline, create ways to measure success, and ways for feedback and improvement. So how many people need translation? The first place to look is the census. And so the most recent city level data for Barre is from 2015. Unfortunately, that's, kind of a long time ago by now. But basically it looks like this. Shows that in 2015 there were 8,400 people in Barre City. Most of them speak only English, but for example, there were 28 German speakers, and 28 of them, of the survey respondents, spoke English less than very well. So if that's an indication of, maybe we need to provide translation services to these people. So this is kind of possibly a place to start. And so there's other information on the Census Bureau website showing, kind of extrapolated from the 2020 census, showing maybe about 3.7 with kind of a large margin of error people speak languages other than English at home. And curiously, they thought maybe 0% spoke Spanish at home. I think that's kind of unlikely, but well, we'll find out, I guess. So based on 2015 and more recent data, I kind of extrapolated backwards to figure out that there might be somewhere between 100 and 300 people who are Barre City residents who speak English less than very well. And so to get better data, like what languages are these? Like if there's 28 German speakers and that's a big need, who knows? Maybe people in the school district would know because the kids would they would know because they have interaction with the families of the kids, the clinics because everybody goes to the doctor, police department, library, and there maybe there's some other suggestions of services or businesses in the city that have knowledge of who might need to access services.
I would suggest that the churches
Oh, that's a great idea.
would
Yep,
be one of the
absolutely.
places that would know.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah, so I wrote down some questions we might ask to kind of get this plan kind of rolling out. So like I pointed out, the margins of error are pretty large. So some of that's the census data is probably not going to be, it's a place to start, but it's probably going to be pretty significantly different from what the census says. Um, and like I said, less than very well. Really, this is based on a survey. So if somebody's taken the survey and they're a German speaker and they're like, well, I speak less than very well. Well, what's less than very well to you? Like maybe they speak as well as I do, and they consider that less than very well. So that survey might or might not be a good indication of what languages we need translated, what resources are available to us. Another thing we can do is go and talk to city employees, people in, City Hall, ask them, like over the course of the last year, how many times has somebody come in and could not communicate effectively with you? When was there, some effort put into helping them? And what language do they speak? That's probably a good place to start. Um, Another question, kind of more thinking more big picture, does lack of accommodation make our city less appealing? And how does that impact us? Like does the fact that we don't engage people who don't speak English, does that mean that they'll come here, rent an apartment for a while and be like, this place, it's not very comfortable for me. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move up to Burlington because there's a community there for me and I feel much more comfortable. And then another thought is Williston and Burlington, they implemented these policies. So once they had the service available, did usage go up? Like what was their expected usage? And once the communities found out that they have this access, did the usage actually go up because of availability? So how should we provide service? Like I said, our entire city population is much smaller. So I think our provision of service is going to look a little bit different. For example, I know that in Burlington there are professional translators that get employed because there's much more need for it. So they might call somebody and somebody who speaks Urdu or Hindi, because they might need that on such a regular basis that they have somebody they can call who lives locally. I think down here in Montpelier, I've heard them talk about there's a telephone service that I think the emergency services subscribe to, where they're able to just call the service, and then there's people on that they can translate over the phone in real time. Another
We
idea
have
is,
that.
oh,
We have the language line that I think it's done by AT&T, and so if people are trying to use our services, they have the language line. We find out what language they need, and then we get the language line available. We
Awesome.
also, all of our determinations, we have a Babel notice that goes out with them in, it's 2 pages, well, 4 pages of different languages where it gives the instructions, first in English and then in probably 15 or 20 different languages.
Wow, that's great. Good. Okay. Um, all right. And then, yeah, where would that service be most critical? And again, why do we need this service? Because it's good for our community. I read a statistic of just kind of looking into it, like why would we need this? Why do people need this service? And apparently, immigrants have a higher proportion of people who start businesses. A higher proportion of people who start small businesses are recent immigrants than the general population. So, for example, we have a brand new Nepali restaurant on Main Street, and so an example of that, I suppose. So next steps, research actual languages needed, determine what is needed, which vital documents need to be translated, and what services are the most critical to have this service available. And so the most critical services, I think, would be the ones that we would want to educate or train the city employees about the access to this call line, for example. Another thing to ask city employees, has anyone asked for a translation or access to language services, and see what the anecdotal experience is there. And then, of course, everything costs money. So what's the cost per individual served in terms of what level of service we provide? And then specific needs, there's a mention of ballot language requirements and plain language policy, meaning it's not, things are not in legalese, they're in understandable language, as well as in English, as well as in translation. And then so just kind of figure out if there's a list of tasks that we need to do to actually implement this policy and a timeline. Any questions?
Just just feel free to open up your questions right to Rick.
I don't have any questions, but it was a great presentation. Thank you for doing it. I think
Thank
you,
you.
I think you've presented some good statistics, but also a good timeline of maybe how we could approach it and where we could start. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah, and then we have, the sample policies from Burlington and Williston. I'd like to take a closer look at those and see how much is literally we can just pick it up and use that as a skeleton or a framework for our policy. And that's great. I'm glad I didn't know that, William. Thanks for mentioning that our I guess our emergency services use that AT&T line.
We do at the Department of Labor. I don't know what other
Okay,
individuals use it.
I see. At the state
But
level, you mean?
yeah,
Right.
One of the things I think we should think about is perhaps how we can find out from individuals what barriers they have faced. Instead of, well, not instead of, but it's good to find out from the service provider end, but it'll be a lot more interesting, I think, to find out from the people who actually face those barriers.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, we always have to think about technology, and we probably rely heavily on it because it would, probably be the most cost effective and attainable way of doing things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. It'd be really interesting to put out a call for feedback on like Front Porch Forum and Facebook. Or
Yeah, and to your point, Rick, about like what what is doesn't speak English very well look like. If someone, can read the newspaper or read Front Porch Forum, they may be able to read okay, but do they have trouble communicating verbally, orally, like so maybe like how can we make sure that people are getting their different needs met?
Mhm.
Or where they maybe are struggling the most. I mean, Danielle last time had a question about ballot language, and I think we all speak English very well, but we still I don't know if any of you have struggled with ballot language because it's all very legalese. So, I'm having a conversation with the I sent that question to Cheryl, and we'll talk about it at our next BCA meeting, but I wanted to let you know that like I think that's even it's different than people having English as a second language. It's just some more formal types of English is really hard to understand. So,
Mhm.
And I know that they do have um, online services too that you can put documents into so that you can translate it into a different language. Now, I would say that those are probably transliterations and not exactly a great translation, but it probably gets the point across. Um, and so that might be it might be something where just people having a knowledge of that would be able to help individuals understand a policy in terms of, like we can put the ballot into Karen, for instance, and translate it into Karen or into Urdu. Um, and, I'm pretty confident that we won't know whether it's a good translation or not, but um, I might be able to, if you're translating into French, I might have a little bit of an idea, but other than that, um, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I
an
go ahead.
interesting point because the elections are time sensitive. So how do we find out what languages are needed with enough time ahead of time to provide that copy, right?
Hmm.
well, I also think
Ed,
that's a good encouraging people who maybe have English as a second language to sign up for absentee ballots because then they can get it and maybe do the translation with like a Google Translate or something like that. And
Mhm.
in their home versus feeling pressured to do it at the polls.
Mhm.
hmm Okay. And I can certainly, if this is something and I'm pretty confident this is something we want to explore, I can certainly reach out to our priests and see um, what languages people speak. I can tell you a little story that we have a Vietnamese priest, Father Tran, who was, there were some women who were speaking French to each other, and he walked up to them afterwards and started speaking French, which surprised them greatly. And then they stopped speaking French at that point in time. But it's certainly there are communities. I'm pretty sure Nepalese is one of the languages we translate into. Uh,
Mm.
and so, but is there any action people wish to take with this?
I'm happy to reach out to the schools to see what they know. Um, I have lots of people that I know in the central office, and I'm happy to do that.
Okay. And of course,
Cool.
the other thing is if we find out that there are a lot of people who speak a certain language in Berry City, it may be something that the schools might want to look into actually teaching those languages. Um, I was surprised to see the 28 German speakers in Berry. Um, and so, but okay. So yeah, Sonia, if you want to reach out to the schools and see what you can find out, and I can reach out to our priests here and see what they can, what they know about the community in terms of other languages that are spoken and what they know about that.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm happy to reach out to the police department and
Okay.
maybe some clinics. The
And then I'm trying to think if I don't know who I would reach out to in terms of the language line and how or if anyone knows anything about the language line and how that's might potentially be utilized by the city.
Okay.
Okay.
I can send an email to Nicholas, the city manager, to see if he can tell me what they're already doing, and
Hmm.
the city clerk, like what do they have in place already, just to get a sense. I can ask them and I can report back to you on that.
Okay, that sounds like a plan then.
Great.
Okay.
Before we wrap up this agenda item, I just wanted to mention I didn't I forgot to go beyond the questions slide to the acknowledgements because the information in my slides I reorganized information from the state of Vermont Department of Health. Um, we mentioned Williston and Burlington as well as Montpelier. And then some of this is from the Vermont Judiciary Language Access Plan. And through City of Montpelier, while I was working there, we met with Omara Rivera Vasquez, who worked on language access for the community justice centers.
Okay. And I guess it's time to move on to new business. Um, Discussion of items for future meetings. Anyone have anything they'd like to bring up for future meetings?
I do have a question uh concerning the presentation. Is that something we can put up in on our website? Up in
On
anyone know?
the city website,
Yeah.
I don't know if we could put it up, but we could probably include it as part of our minutes.
Hmm.
Okay.
Now, I noticed that it said that there was a transcription that was being done for the minutes at the beginning of the meeting, that the meeting was being transcribed.
Mm.
So I don't know if the minutes are being done automatically or,
Oh, through Zoom.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been taking some notes.
Hmm.
Maybe I can send those to you, and if you maybe I'm not sure if I
I've
took
been
the
taking
notes.
notes as well, so
Okay,
I'm okay on that. And plus, I have the entire presentation here, so
gotcha.
um,
Okay,
and the other thing is we can just make sure that that's part of our notes, our minutes for the meeting as we include that.
okay.
Okay. Um, Now, as far as discussion of items for future meetings, is homelessness something that people would want to discuss for a future meeting? I know we had in December, we had a resident of Barre who died during the cold temperatures here. I know that I was at Shaw's and was listening to someone on the phone talking about his tent and so forth, um, and so I think that there is we do have a certainly have a homeless community in Barre. Um, not, and I don't think all of them are at the Good Samaritan House. Um, so if that's something that people would like to look at for a future meeting, we can certainly do that.
If I might, I am also the liaison to the Unhoused Community
Mhm.
Committee for the city of Barre. And yeah, there's definitely more people than are in shelters. There are definitely people living out on um, in tents and that kind of thing. Um, and there's the emergency shelter that's happening. But yeah, we can talk about it and how it relates to this committee. I would be happy to entertain that idea.
Okay. Okay. Any other new business? Okay. Hearing none, it doesn't look like we have any visitors left at this point in time. Um, our next meeting should be March 12th at 6:30 via Zoom. Um, now, I will note that the first couple of meetings, I sent out an email to people saying, if you have any items that you wish to have on the agenda, let me know by a certain time. I didn't do that this time. Do people want me to do that, or are you comfortable just um, emailing me and letting me know if there's an item that you want on the agenda?
Yeah, I'm comfortable, speaking for myself, I'm comfortable, knowing like by when you want the agenda items. Would you like them by a week or so before the next
Oh,
meeting?
basically, I need them before I generally send out the agenda on Monday. And then it gets into the Tuesday front porch forum. So if I can get them by the Friday before, that's certainly helpful. But I can, as long as I notice them, I can um, get them in there as long as it's you get them to me by Monday. Um, but I can't guarantee that I'll notice them. But I usually do make sure I look at the emails before I send something out because I'm in the email already.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Are you going to put a follow-up for all of the things that we talked about tonight, like language access and the committees, the ordinances, and oh, Rick's going to reach out to Christy.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, I think that'll be in the minutes. I'm not sure what are you?
Well, can we follow up and see what comes next? Like, what did Rick find out from Christy, and what is there a list of ordinances that we'd like to start focusing on, like that kind of
Sure,
thing?
sure. If people want to reach out, if people, if basically if you have an ordinance that you want to look at, uh, let me know, and you can also let the rest of the committee know, and you know, if you want, Rick, no, you're not sharing your screen anymore, but we can certainly take a look at the um, city website here, and it's pretty simple to see the ordinances. If there's one in particular that people are wishing to look at.
Well, maybe I think, ooh, was it Rick that suggested it or Sean? I can't remember. Someone suggested maybe we could look through and come up with a list. So maybe we could compare our lists.
Sure.
Okay.
And then for our next meeting, we can come up for our next meeting, we can come up with ordinances that we want to look at, and then for the meeting following, we can go over, or maybe um, you go over, and if there's one in particular that you want to, because we have to, I think for open meeting law, um, have, well, I guess we can, yeah, we can reach out to each other in terms of what ordinances we want to go over, and then we can put that on the agenda for the next meeting. That wouldn't be in violation of any open meeting laws. So I think
Okay.
why don't we do that? Is there a time frame in terms of when people would want to have that um, by in order to be ready for the next meeting? Or is it sufficient to have it in time for as long as we have it so that we can have it on the agenda? Is that sufficient time?
I think if we have it in by Tuesday, everybody would have at least a chance to glimpse at it by Thursday.
Okay. And then we can always, um, when we share a screen, we can always share the ordinance on the screen too, so that we can all look at it together. Okay. Any other new business?
Um, yeah, I just wanted to mention, it was brought to my attention that I need to take the open meetings law training. So, Sonia, do you have a link for that, or how do I get onto that?
I think there's a webinar or something. I'll look it up and I can send it to the whole group.
Okay.
That would be good, yes.
Yep.
Okay. So our next meeting will be in a month, and since it's February, that means March 12th at 6:30. And I plan this time on actually putting the correct date in there. Um, um, and it'll be easier because I just have to switch from February to March. Um, okay. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay.
Second.
Okay, that was Sean who seconded.
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor?
I
All right.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Good night.
See you in a
Thanks,
month.
everyone.
Good evening, all.
Bye, Greg.